folks who are just joining, I'm here with Cameron Kasky, who was, until very recently, like the front runner for U.S. Congressional District 12. I feel like people really were like vibing with you, and then you were like, "No, can't be me. I don't want to, and I'm going to do something else." What made you want to leave the race?
Well, it behooves me to point out that I was certainly not the front runner. I was one of the three viable candidates, certainly.
Yeah,
But of the three viable candidates, I was number three, and that was cool. That
you were
was
Sammy's favorite, which is why you were my favorite. Sammy Sage was like, "Cameron's going to be our guy." I was like, "Okay."
stop. Yeah, no. It was definitely a campaign where we got a lot more support than I'd expected. I didn't think that many people were going to turn out for us, and I was very, very moved by that. It meant a lot to me because a lot of people in the political consulting class would tell you that something like what we were trying to do is just not possible in our district. But what happened was I took a trip in December that I'll tell you more about to the occupied West Bank in Palestine, and I witnessed there a horrific human rights disaster that has just gone very underreported on because with everybody understandably paying attention to the genocide in Gaza, the
Mm,
settler violence in the West Bank has been running absolutely rampant. There
mm,
have never been more killings by illegal settlers in the West Bank. Palestinians are being uh, demolished out of their homes, they're being choked out of their homes. It
mm,
is a very, very slow and what's happening in the West Bank is death by a thousand cuts. And what the state of Israel is doing to inflict violence there is a lot more detailed and meticulous than Gaza, where they are just carpet bombing every single block. So
mm,
when I got back, I realized that given my position as a Jewish American political figure who had just come back from this war zone, I have the ability to go to Capitol Hill and talk to people about it who otherwise wouldn't take a meeting about this type of issue. So I met with Congressman Ro Khanna and I told him what I saw over there. And we decided that we can actually work on legislation together to ensure that international law is followed,
mm.
but I can't do that as a candidate. You're not allowed to work on legislation as a candidate. And some people were asking me like, okay, well, why don't you wait until you're in Congress when you can do even more? And I said, the people there can't wait.
Right. Right. Well, it it's a very selfless thing for you to do to say, like, "I'm gonna put my personal ambition to be a congressman aside to work essentially as a steward for the folks over there," alongside Ro Khanna, who is a friend of the show. We've had Ro on a bunch of times. I feel like he's really doing such great things for the progressive movement and the Democrats and pushes them in ways that's really interesting. And you can always go back and do it again. This is a very strange race. I mean, the folks, it's almost like meme candidates a little bit up there, and I'm probably gonna get in trouble for saying this. There are some people who are excellent, very serious humans, and then we've got, like, Claudia Conway's dad and the good-looking Kennedy boy, and I'm like, "Okay, what are we doing up here?"
Well, there's one difference, which is that George Conway has had a job before, but yeah, listen, New York 12 is one of the safest, strongest liberal places in this country. It is a
Mhm,
blue seat where I'd like to think that whoever we're going to put forth, and I have not decided who I'll be voting for yet, is going to be somebody who will take a leadership position in the party. And I
yeah,
think that of the candidates remaining, save for Jack, each of them have their own strengths.
mhm,
But generally speaking, it's tough to succeed Jerry Nadler. Jerry Nadler's a legend.
yeah,
It's the sequel is rarely better than the original.
mhm. It's true. I think it's good that he steps aside, but he, is still around to be a mentor to whoever's gonna be up there and let them know kinda, what they're gonna be getting into. Some of the things with the Democrats that young people are saying, this vote for the lesser evil thing has been going on for so long. It's not true. There are distinct differences in human rights advantages to not voting for the MAGA Republican that aren't balanced in any way by anything that a Democrat running against them would be doing. But a lot of folks are asking, like, what are the Democrats giving us to vote for right now? I mean, they won't say abolish ICE. We've seen how things have been handled in Middle East. We're still seeing a lot of stock trading. Like, when you were running, what were the things you were hoping somebody was gonna do differently?
Well, I said abolish ICE when we launched, and then a couple days ago, my two viable opponents, Alex and Micah, said it as well. And absolutely, under no circumstances is it because I said it first.
Mhm.
But theoretically speaking, I can't prove that it's not because I said it first. So I'm just going to tell myself it's because I said it first. No, but
There you go.
anybody who saw the killing of Renee Good would know that it is the position of any reasonable individual in this country, regardless of their party affiliation, that ICE needs to be completely abolished. Um, Listen, I think that there are a lot of things changing in the party, and it's going to be a battle between people who want us to continue to win elections and
Mhm.
people who want to continue receiving corporate money to advocate against things like healthcare and other things that most Americans have kind of come around on. I mean, Medicare for all is one of the most popular policy
Yeah,
points in the country with Democrats and Republicans.
of
A
course.
lot of Republicans will go against Medicare for all if it's called that. But then if you explain Medicare for all to them without using the words Medicare for all, they're like, of course I support that. Why wouldn't I? So the Democratic Party is in this existential battle for our future because there are some people who are willing to leave our comfort zones to move forward and some people who are just getting too much money in from the donors. And listen, I've had to call donors before.
Mhm,
I know from the inside that if there is something you can do to keep the people who give you money happy, you will do it. Oh my God, donors are donors were the hell of my life.
mhm.
I'm very grateful to them for their support, but my God, what a horrifying experience. But look, you're seeing people starting to change tune already. On Gaza, you're seeing APAC friendly candidates start to recognize that they're not going to have much of a future in their primaries unless they
Oh,
start to shift their priorities and things like that. And that is something that I'm looking to exploit right now with my West Bank legislation because I'm going to different people on Capitol Hill and saying, listen, you did XYZ for Israel in the past. In the
mhm,
future, you are going to be asked how you showed up as it pertains to Palestine. Right
mhm,
now, I am giving you the chance to be an early backer of legislation that is addressing a human rights crisis
mhm,
and you're going to need to have something to show when people ask you what you did. Because
mhm,
you voted to give this money to Israel. You took this trip sponsored by APAC, whatever.
mhm,
I'm so much more interested in what you're doing moving forward than what you've done in the past.
mhm,
And if there is a politician who has taken a position that is not in line with my own moral interests, I am not going to give up on my ability to get them to do the right thing.
mhm.
I'm going to, from a utilitarian perspective, try and milk them for everything I can get out of them.
That is a good plan. What does this legislation look like? Like, what are you proposing?
I can't get too specific right now because I'm still waiting to hear back from the legislative director, but there are certain things going on in the West Bank that have not been addressed in Congress. Again, what I say is that the United States and the state of Israel are breaking Gaza's neck and they're slowly choking the West Bank out because
Mhm.
Gaza bears virtually zero religious significance to the Zionist movement. It's just a strip of land where Trump can go build like a beachfront casino or
Oh,
whatever.
mhm,
The West Bank, that is the prize. That is the prize for the religious movements that run the state of Israel right now, which have led to this radical extremism. And they're not going to carpet bomb the ancient kingdom of Judea and Samaria. They're using very meticulous tactics. So in Sebastia, a town that I visited on a day where for 48 hours, I'd only eaten an Lida because I'm allergic to sesame seeds, and it's
it's
Palestinians put
everywhere.
sesames pasta they put it in their water. Like,
Mhm.
every time that you meet a Palestinian, they just throw sesame seeds in your
Yeah.
face. So I was dizzy and I was exhausted. Going to Palestine was the first time I'd ever taken an international flight.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I didn't know jet lag to me was when I went to LA from New
Yeah,
York.
no, it's very
And I was like,
different,
"Oh,
yeah.
gee, I'm waking up slightly earlier this morning. Oh my god.
Uh,
Oh, it's 1 AM and I'm not tired yet." I Oh my god, in
it's
I was in a war zone and I was like, "I do not know if my body is more awake or asleep right now. I just know that my body is uncomfortable."
Yeah,
Um, but there's this thing Palestinians do where they will drink coffee until 3 AM and they will make you drink coffee until 3 AM. You will walk into a Palestinian's home and they won't ask, "Do you want coffee?" You'll sit down and they'll just put coffee in front of you. And
sounds
there,
good.
there's this thing with brown, West Asian, South Asian people in general, where you're not allowed to turn away gifts. Like,
Sure,
if you
yeah.
go into a brown family's home and they put food in front of you, you have two options: either eat it or leave.
Right.
So I just found myself it's like 2 AM, I've only eaten pita and an apple, I'm buzzing, I'm pounding coffee, I don't know what's going on, and I'm listening to the mayor of Sebastia, which is this 2,500-year-old city, talk to me about land confiscation, where basically the state of Israel is using archaeology as an excuse to steal
Mm,
land from these people. They're saying, "Oh, look, here's a picture we got of a couple broken pieces of a clay pot from the Byzantine era. We need to take 40 acres of this land and just confiscate it."
mm,
And that's very different from what's happening in Umahir, which is surrounded on all sides by settlements. It's a small shepherd's village, and settlers will come into town with M16s and just shoot people in broad daylight with impunity. There was one settler named Yunon Levy who did so in a way that was so horrific that even the US placed sanctions on him. And then
wow.
Donald Trump lifted the sanctions because, of course, he did,
Yes.
because murder, Trump likes to say he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue. Yunon Levy shot Ada Hathaleen right in their community center. And not only did he face zero consequences, he still walks free to this day and regularly goes back to the village and harasses people. So whether it's economic collective punishment, apartheid, all of these different things, the plan in the West Bank is much more complicated than Gaza. Here's the
Mm,
thing. They have the same goal for the Palestinians in the West Bank than they do for the Palestinians in Gaza. It's Hamas is not why they want these people to be killed and driven out of their land. They
mhm,
want these people to be killed and driven out of their land because in the charter of the Likud party, which is the ruling party in the state of Israel, it's Netanyahu's party, in 1974, in the charter they put, there will only be Israeli sovereignty from the River Jordan to the Mediterranean. Or as some would say, from the river to the sea. And when college protesters say from the river to the sea, it's considered terror language, but is actually the founding principles of the party that currently controls the state of Israel. And this all kind of sounds like this crazy conspiratorial, um, evil shit that I used to get targeted by because I was targeted by anti-Semites when I was a teenager and I was going on TV after the shooting at my high school telling everybody I was coming after their guns. All these
mhm.
anti-Semitic conspiracies about my family. My father and my grandfather were adoption lawyers. So according to the
Oh,
anti-Semites, of course,
yeah.
human trafficking,
Mhm,
um, all these things. Like it sounds like an anti-Semitic conspiracy to look at something like the Greater Israel Plan and Likud Party Charter. And it's like, no, they say it. And that's one of the things I communicate to people when I'm talking about the human rights issues over there is I'm like, there's nothing I say about the state of Israel's agenda that the parliamentarians there are not saying out loud. We're just not listening to them. We're just
mhm,
not paying attention, but they are making their plans crystal clear.
mhm, mhm. That is very interesting, and I think you make a great point that folks who don't wanna believe in atrocities will just pass it off as disinformation, or if they see something horrible, "Well, it must be AI. Well, that can't be that bad." Well, whatever the case may be, but this journey that you took very recently obviously changed you significantly as a person. Is there any this is gonna be a tough one, but it's Thursday here at Under the Desk News, and we typically do good news only on Thursday. Do you have
Oh, I'm
any
sorry.
kind of good news or like a good story that came from your time there other than the, like, fundamental change and, fire it lit in you to help these people?
Um, One of the things I'll say is that the human spirit is a very resilient thing, and I knew that because, again, I'm a school shooting survivor, I've
Mm,
traveled across the country, I've been to dozens of states, close to every state, meeting with different people who have lost their family members and friends to gun violence, people have been shot. I've been shown hundreds of people's bullet wounds and things like that. Um, and one of the things I remembered from Parkland was that the people I know with whom I make the most jokes about the shooting are the people I know who lost friends and family in the shooting because
mhm,
comedy is this means for survival. It is one of the only tools we have against trauma. Trauma
mhm,
is such an overwhelming thing.
yeah,
And it's so hard to tackle trauma because it's not about this one battle that you can overcome. You will never overcome trauma. You will only figure out different ways to live with and manage it.
mm,
And that's a tough thing. It's not like I'm bipolar, right? And when you're having a manic or depressive episode, there is another side of it
right,
and where you'll hopefully get level. And there will always be this lingering specter of there will be another episode one day. I can't help it. It's in my nature, but
mhm,
you learn how to manage it. With trauma, you'll never overcome trauma, you'll only find different ways to carry it with you. And one
Mhm.
of those ways is comedy. And the Palestinians that I met, generally speaking, were so funny. And it just
Really?
took me by surprise. Yeah. Oh my God. I was witnessing all of these conditions for the first time. So I was in shock
Yeah.
seeing the different ways these people live their lives. But this is all they know. This is
Mhm.
their life. I said, like, the feeling that I had of uncertainty that the next person through the door could be a shooter coming to kill me, that feeling from Parkland, that's the only thing that the people in Umar here know.
Mhm.
Um, and they were still so funny. And like, I used to think that Jewish people were like uniquely funnier than everybody else as a Jewish person who grew. And if you go watch like any comedy series and you look at like the writing credits, you can find like six Jewish last names. Like comedy and Judaism are just so intrinsically tied to me. Um, but I was like, no, it's not. It's not the Jewish people. It's the Semites. It
Mhm.
is the people of Semitic descent because Palestinians and Jews are all Semites. That's why it's so odd to me that anti-Semite is the word we use for Jew hate when like
Yeah.
Palestinians are Semitic. We're all descendant of the same. We're all fucking cousins.
Yeah.
But I would say the good news is like if you are someone who has experienced a tragedy in life and you have found a way to laugh about it, like that is a universal language. That is something
Mhm.
that can connect anybody. Trauma is a way for people to connect. People who have absolutely nothing in common, people whose lives mean virtually people who have nothing in common, people whose lives are not at all entangled. When you have experienced trauma, you have a bond with people,
Mhm.
and comedy is part of that. And
Mhm.
the people I met in the West Bank who live under horrific conditions, the likes of which I could not have possibly imagined, even knowing what I had known, they are still funny. So if you're on a date with somebody and they can't make you laugh, it's over.
You're not the one.
If you see, this is we're gonna veer for 1 second into dating stuff.
Yeah.
If you're on a date with somebody for over an hour and they don't make you laugh once, not the type of laugh where you're like, "Oh, we
Just
just
a
kind of
slight
agreed on
laugh.
something."
Yeah.
No, you need to lose control and laugh, or else, spoiler alert, it's not going to work. Maybe you could be together for a month, maybe for a year. I don't know. You need to laugh on the first date. That is the lesson I brought from Palestine.
I'm going to agree. I'm married 6 years now, and I will agree when things get difficult and you have to go through a difficult thing with your partner, ultimately, you're navigating family death or money stuff or whatever's going on, if you have to have that little way you can look at each other and make each other laugh to get through that difficult time. So I think you're starting off way ahead with knowing on the first date you've got to be laughing because
Well, I
6
mean,
years into marriage you got to be laughing.
it's what I've got. Because the thing is, people who meet me all know that I am like a school shooting survivor with divorced parents. Now they know that I'm a school shooting survivor with divorced parents who was just in a war zone. Like,
Yeah.
I have to assuage any concerns that the baggage is going to be irreconcilable. I need within
You're like,
two
I'm
minutes,
cool. I'm cool with this.
within 2 fucking minutes, I
Yeah.
need somebody to be like, oh, he's the funniest guy I've ever met. So
Yeah.
the,
Do you
the
put it in
guys,
the bio on the apps? Or are you like, yes, everything you heard about me is true. Also, I'm funny.
it's funny. I'm too scared of the apps because I, all of the women that I've dated have been mutual friends or somebody that I just met while I was with my friends. The men have all come from apps,
Mhm.
and the men have scared me off of the apps because men are just terrible. And
Yeah.
some
You're
people,
not funny.
no, people have said to me like, "Oh, Cameron, you're bisexual and you only date women. You never date guys. What's that about?" And I'm like, "Have you met guys? Like, what are you talking? You're one man's internalized homophobia is another man's externalized misandry. Like,
Right.
I say to my straight male friends all the time, I'm like, I love women more than you ever will because I know what it's like on the other side.
Yeah.
All right. I've
I
experienced
mean,
the
yeah. Women
grass
are
is
the
always
best. It's
greener.
why I'm a lesbian. I mean, I got to a point too where I was like, you know what? If I gotta choose, I'm choosing a woman.
And I feel so bad for people who do not have a choice. Their only choice is
Just
men.
can't.
my heart is with them. But if you have a choice and you choose men and it goes wrong, I warned you.
I know, and we're gonna leave you guys with that, so keep it in mind. Cameron, it was so great chatting with you. I'm sure we'll get to chat with you again. Good luck with everything, and if there's anything you can ever do as your legislation moves forward to help, educate folks, like, you're welcome back anytime. I know this is something that people are really passionate about, really interested in, and you're a great educator, just helping them understand better.
Thank you for having me. I'm sure we'll talk soon. Take care.
Thanks. Bye, Cameron.